Remember those heat exchangers we just talked about during the last few slides? Here is another type, and this is what they should look like if they are in good shape, but that is certainly not always the case. As it turns out, the most common damages to heat exchangers are wear and tear related. And leading the list is rust and corrosion, which is generally caused by age and a lack of maintenance. This is a closer look at that severe rusting on this heat exchanger, and of course this happened over a period of time and was not sudden or accidental. There's also a process known as thermal fatigue, which is the gradual deterioration and eventual cracking of the metal by alternating heating and cooling. The fact is, if you use a furnace often enough and for a long enough period of time, thermal fatigue is an eventual certainty. It is accelerated by the corrosive combustion gases that pass through the heat exchanger tubes on their way to the exhaust flue and by condensation that may collect in the heat exchanger during heat transfer. Some manufacturers are crimping joints instead of welding and applying special alloys to slow the thermal fatigue process. Of course, fire is an obvious cause of loss, which can and often does cause catastrophic damages to furnaces. Depending on the amount of fire, repairs may not be possible as seen with this photo. Also, where there is fire, there is smoke, which can also cause damages to furnace components such as blower motors and blower wheels as seen here. And there could be ductwork involved, especially if the unit was running at the time of the event. And when ductwork is involved, it might depend on the type of material as to whether it can be cleaned. Here we see a simplified graphic showing some of the common ductwork components. Generally speaking, we would try to clean metal ductwork, boots, and takeoffs, but replace flex duct as it is not cost effective to try to clean. Also remember there are different types of smoke, and some can cause differing damages and require different cleaning methods depending on whether it is a dry smoke, smoke from a protein fire in a kitchen, or oily smoke from a puffback, which is common with oil-fired units mostly found in the Northeast. If you need more information on puffbacks, be sure to check the resources section of our website where we do have multiple pieces of education covering that very unique loss. Also, many times with fire, there is resulting water damage from the fire department putting out the fire, and we'll review that cause of loss next. So now, speaking of water, it can also cause damages to the furnace components as shown here with corrosion to this gas manifold and burners. But it's more likely to cause damages to the electrical components of the furnace, like this control board shown in that left photo. If it was not a fire scenario, the water could come from above or be rising or collecting on the floor in a general water loss claim. Metal ductwork can also rust and corrode as a result of water, and flex duct can become saturated and sag. In either of these cases, replacement would be warranted. And regarding water losses, don't forget that you will need to consider other factors such as how much water, how long was the unit wet, the type of the water, and the overall condition of the unit before the water loss. Many times we may be able to dry and clean the furnace and or metal ductwork and replace just the electrical components affected and the flex duct. These graphics of both a vertical and horizontal furnace might help you visualize how much water it might take before the unit is at true risks of catastrophic damages. Notice water can get to those sensitive components a lot faster with horizontal units just based on its orientation and the location of the internal components. Don't forget the water could also come from above in an overhead water loss scenario. Sometimes we forget that high voltage surges can and do happen in fall and winter and might cause damage to anything electronic within the furnace system. Here we see some common items affected. The top photo is a transformer and the bottom a furnace control board. But we can't forget about all those other items we outlined earlier, such as the thermostat, the draft inducer motor, gas valves, and of course the blower motor. Again, you will need an HVAC technician with the proper training and tools to make determinations of high voltage surge. So next we're going to review a couple common claim scenarios from real furnace claims.